We're always celebrating food here. It is National Pizza Day. Geraldo Rivera here this morning. Would you like my piece?
That pizza's a little
You don't like this
No, too much.
Yeah,
National Pizza Day.
So we celebrate everything here on the show. Today is National Pizza Day, but we also always celebrate Geraldo Rivera, who we love having on the couch. Good to see you, sir.
I like National Pizza Afternoon.
Always.
Well, you got a goober on there.
Goober.
Can we get a close-up, actually?
Well, I want to talk to you about
the
can we talk about the Trump transition team? Now, you know, it's kind of interesting to watch this morning and viewer comments rolling in saying, oh, you know, Chris Christie, no, he's not been fired or he's just been sidelined. He's just been demoted. And other people saying, well, forget about Chris Christie. Mike Pence has just been elevated to this position of now running the transition team. What do you make of what happened?
Well, I think that the last phrasing was just being kind to Governor Christie, whose career was shattered by Bridgegate. You know, the man was a leading contender to be the Republican nominee, and Bridgegate happened, and I remember his second inauguration, Christie's. It was said at the Statue of Liberty behind him. It was supposed to really propel him onto the Republican nomination in the White House, and then Bridgegate really humbled him. It made everybody think of every stereotype of just a bully and someone who made his subordinates take the fall for him. I thought that he was lucky that you know, Trump trusted him, gave him some political life, Chris Christie, for that you know, for the year and a half of the campaign. Now, you know, it's time for the grown-up in the room. Mike Pence, everyone is giving him very, very high reviews. He may be the most powerful vice president ever, maybe even more than Dick Cheney, as Donald Trump relies on him. Right. Governor Pence knows how to run a government, and it is, to me, totally fitting that that Governor Pence be in charge of the transition. Well, speaking of grown-ups in the room, these riots, they've been going on for the third day now, getting out of hand, quite frankly. And as our own Bill Riley said, this is just disgraceful. This is disgraceful. This is not what our country is about. Is it time for President Obama to step in and say something? Well, first of all, I think the bitter irony of all of what's going on here is that the cities where they are venting their rage are all cities that went overwhelmingly for Hillary Clinton. Mm-hmm. So presumably they are destroying the property of people who are allied with them politically. So these are their political friends. In Manhattan, you demonstrated in Manhattan, 87% of Manhattan voted for Hillary Clinton. Portland, Berkeley, San Francisco, Los Angeles. So what are you doing? You're wrecking your own family stuff.
Geraldo, these cities, we saw in Philadelphia, I mean, the numbers were down. They didn't come out for Hillary Clinton in the way that they came out for President Obama. So they sat on their hands and didn't vote. And now they're voting after the election by smashing storefronts.
It's so funny. I was going to Broadway Wednesday night. We were trying to cross, Erica, my wife and I were trying to cross 6th Avenue, and 1,000 of the demonstrators came marching up 6th Avenue there. And I was just thinking as I saw them, how many of you actually voted? Right. I mean, did you vote? Did you vote? And I really, now in terms of what they are doing, I mean, you've really got to come down hard. When you break someone's property, when you hurt somebody, like the thugs that were beating up that white guy who voted for Trump, you know, the Detroit scene, it was so horrible. That, and the other thing that was just as horrible to me was white students shouting white power and build the wall in their schools and putting up signs that say colored people drink from this water fountain, white people from that. I think both that is hate. Hate crime should be prosecuted as such. We should
but you're not
be intolerant.
You're not apples to appling here. We're looking at business being burned down. We're looking at things being thrown at
to
cops.
Me, I'm telling you, Pete, I'm telling you.
No, the mass scale of this over 3 days,
intolerant.
It's going to grow into the weekend.
A hateful act is a hateful act, whether it's that you're seeing or whether it's someone shouting white power.
Fair enough. One is speech, as bad as it may be. Another is assaulting cops.
What I said was not speech. That's hate. Well, I understand.
What's your line of hate speech and speech? I mean, I get it. There's really terrible.
I was a protester in 1968. I was arrested in 1969 in Washington, D.C., in Donald Rumsfeld's office for a protest. You protest. That is a long tradition of that, protected by the United States Constitution. If you're willing, as a person committing civil disobedience, to take the legal consequences, then that is part of a long tradition.
Have you ever
seen this, if you're breaking stuff, if you're absolutely
have you seen this after an election? Have you seen this type of violence? And we're showing you these videos here after a presidential election.
I don't remember. I know that in 1968 in the Chicago conventions, it was during the process where all of the violence happened.
Yeah, but nothing like this.
I want to be very, very clear here. The person who did that deserves to go to jail. A riot is a Class C felony in Oregon. You go to jail for that. You go to jail for you sit your ass in jail for a year. Let's see how much you're going to break the next time.
But Geraldo, you remember the 2008 riots, right?
that didn't happen when Barack Obama was elected and promised to fundamentally transform our country. I mean, this is a problem exclusive, violently wise, riot-wise, to the left. Shouldn't Barack Obama be coming out and saying, maybe with Trump, maybe Obama and Trump come out together and say enough is enough?
You ask me to come to ask of Hillary Clinton and the Democrats that they join President-elect Trump, or President Obama joins President-elect Trump in making sure that the message gets out to these anarchists that this will not be tolerated.
Why not have President-elect Trump come out with Obama?
What I'm saying is I say you condemn all of this excessive behavior together. We are one country. The great thing about President Obama and President-elect Trump meeting in the Oval Office and shaking hands was we saw in that scene that this was the continuity of the republic. This is the peaceful transition of power. Now let both these men say to whoever it is that loves them, this is unacceptable, whether you're right or left, if you're saying white power or if you're smashing someone's store. These are equally unacceptable to us, and let's go forward together as one nation, and then you sort out how he does, whether you oppose him, whether you agree with him.
You mentioned jail. One person who might not be going to jail could be Hillary Clinton, and that was the thing that we kept hearing during the campaign, lock her up. Now, in this interview with 60 Minutes, Donald Trump on Sunday night seemed to suggest that we've turned the page here. We got more important things to focus on than Hillary Clinton: jobs, the economy, health care. Doesn't seem to be leaning in the direction of appointing a special prosecutor for Hillary Clinton. What's your sense of it?
Let me say, just thank God. I remember one thing, and with sitting next to a war hero, I'm humbled. Back in 2003, it was a British officer, one of the Royal Irish units, who said, "Ferocious in battle, magnanimous in victory." I want Donald Trump, who was ferocious in battle, to be magnanimous in victory now. The last thing this nation needs, and exactly the prescription for keeping open the rural wounds that the country now is going through, and so many people are traumatized, even as other people are elated. The worst thing we could do right now is to have a special prosecutor bring Hillary Clinton up there. You want to see that same cast of characters again? Do you want to really see Jason Chaffetz and Trey Gowdy and Darrell Issa and all these guys going after Hillary Clinton?
What about the law being the law? You have people that say, you know what, she did something wrong here. That needs to be looked into. She was treated differently. There are a lot of folks out there, even Mike Pence said this in the debate, saying if it were my son who's in the military who did this, he would have been removed from his post. What about following through with the law?
I remember, I'm old enough to remember when Gerald Ford succeeded Richard Nixon. Spiro Agnew had already quit because of his legal problems. One of the first things President Ford did was pardon Richard Nixon.
Ended his career, though. Ended his political career.
It did. He paid the price for it. Unfortunately, it was something that came to haunt him. But imagine. First of all, let me say what he accomplished with that pardon. He ended the Watergate era. He ended the disruption and turmoil from the Vietnam War. With that single act, that bold stroke, President Nixon is hereby pardoned and therefore removed from the judicial processes. The nation could go on and deal with whatever the nation had to deal with.
Should Obama do that then?
I want President Obama to pardon Hillary Clinton, and I want him to do it preemptively. Well, so was Richard Nixon.
Right.
Richard Nixon was never charged.
Right.
He was pardoned for any and all.
You want President Obama to pardon Hillary Clinton?
I call on President Obama to pardon Hillary Clinton right now for any acts that may or may not have been done regarding.
What message does that send, though, to so many people about fairness?
You can understand why
the message. I understand that. I'm a pragmatic idealist. I think of myself with grand notions, but I want things to be done. Right now, what does this country need? We are a nation where 60 million voted one way and 60 million voted the other way, where the cities voted one way and the rural and suburban areas voted another way, where white people voted one way and people of color voted a different way. What the president has to do is try to bring everybody together. We're not going to heal these divides overnight, but the last thing we need is a high-profile persecution of Hillary Clinton, who I submit has paid enough for all of her alleged misdeeds. She has paid enough.
Well, she paid at the ballot box is where she paid.
Well, she's paid in her soul. She's paid in her
What about the guys that paid in Benghazi? What about the guys that paid elsewhere? The national security secret she let go because she was willy-nilly with our... I mean, that has to matter.
I absolutely reject your characterization of Benghazi. I do. And I was
but a
almost
lot of people
killed in
don't.
Libya. I know the Benghazi scene, and I tell you, Benghazi was the beginning of the malignant hype that ultimately brought down the Clintons. It was basically what happened post-Benghazi was political much more than it was military. And the political, it was the beginning of the campaign that destroyed Hillary Clinton's character. It went from Benghazi to the private email server, and then WikiLeaks joined in, and who knows what job the Russians did, and I think that deserves to be probed. That going forward, to me, what I would like to see, what role, and this, rather than whether Hillary Clinton is going to be prosecuted for imaginary, real or imagined offenses, what I would like to see is a real probe, a bilateral probe led by the Republican administration, by the Trump administration, into what exact role did Russia play or not play in the WikiLeaks scandal. Did they penetrate our cybersecurity? Are they now a threat to manipulate all of our elections going forward? This was all Democrats. They WikiLeaked the hell out of everything the Democrats had.
Boomerang back at
but
some point.
wait until they start WikiLeaking the Republicans.
Sure.
I mean, how would everybody watching right now, how would you like your worst enemy to have access to all your social media, every email you ever sent, every text message you ever sent, to your girlfriend, to your boss, to your best friend, drunk, late at night? My goodness.
But there was also cover for what Hillary Clinton had done. She made the choice to set up a private email server. She made that decision, and now we're sort of whitewashing that. Oh well.
And Geraldo,
do you really believe that that's what Hillary Clinton went through? The White House
warned her about this,
and that could have been just as dangerous. When we talk about hacking, we talk about people getting into classified information and the role that she was in. That is just as dangerous and frightening for this country as you're talking about with the WikiLeaks and with Russia, whatever their involvement might have been.
Potentially, Abby, that may be so, but I have not heard to this day one specific allegation of any specific U.S. national security secret that was leaked as a result of Hillary Clinton's private email. There is not one allegation.
Except for the fact that there are likely 5 foreign governments cracked into her server and had access to her emails in real time. I mean, that has real implications.
If that bothers you, why don't you express that same passion regarding the Russians? Here you're saying that 5 countries may have hacked Hillary Clinton, but I don't see that fury directed at Putin, at the KGB, at the Russians.
You know what I'm glad about? I'm glad we really healed this morning. I really feel like we really... Thank you.
The one thing I just want to say is that Pete and I spent a lot of time in Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan.
And 10 seconds.
For the 4 guys who got killed in Bagram with that bombing, God bless them. Thank you for your service.
Amen.
So sorry.